The girl named Yi was like a captivating black swan on stage, but behind a mask was a deep-seated hatred. She silently watched her sworn enemy, Guushian. 10 years ago, he caused Yi to lose her mother and pushed her father into prison. Yi hid herself for years, and finally, she had the chance to pay back the blood debt. But unexpectedly, a hand grabbed the liquor glass with poison. It turned out to be Guushian's son named Chiong. Yi had to reveal her hand early, splashing the poisonous liquor directly onto Guushian. Chiong hurriedly shielded his father, causing him to lose his eyesight. 2 months later, Yi was hiding in a fishing village by the sea. She was handing fish onto a boat for a customer when she unexpectedly met an old acquaintance. Chiong gripped his cane tightly and ordered his men to steer the boat out to sea. He chose a really sharp knife, slowly settling the score with Yi. He wanted her to pay the price for the hardship he endured while getting used to the darkness. Chiong heard that fish gallbladder was good for the eyes, so he ate a lot of it. So now he would use this opportunity to give her this gift. He mocked her as a truly useless daughter, using such a stupid way to assassinate Guushian. He remembered her father embezzled project funds and even caused the death of his wife, named Chiong. Yi went from a pampered darling to a barmaid overnight. She reminded Chiong not to think that poisoning someone would make Guushian think highly of him, because people said that he was just an unloved, illegitimate son. Chiong got angry and tightened his grip on Yi's neck, but he had prepared another gift, a music box from Paris. He revealed that he had gone to the prison to see Yi's father. Her father clutched this music box tightly and kept calling his daughter's name. Yi grabbed a knife and asked Chiong what he had done to her father. He said that he wouldn't bother to harm someone who was as good as dead. He had only told him that she wouldn't live past today. Yi, you blinded me, so I will make you close your eyes forever. Chiong backed Yi onto the boat's roof, smiling smugly, and then pushed her straight into the sea. He threw the music box after her as a farewell gift. In the cold water, Yi struggled to reach for the music box that her mother had designed herself. She had witnessed her mother's death at the construction site, and then her father was arrested for cutting corners and causing the accident that killed her mother. She was bitter because her family had once been so happy. 5 years later, Guushian hosted an engagement party for his beloved daughter, and Jing. The guests whispered that Chiong wouldn't attend his sister's wedding and that the groom was reluctant to marry a disabled bride. Guushian heard that his future son-in-law was busy in Haizhou and had no choice but to apologize to the honored guests. He said that with his personality, he definitely wouldn't marry off his daughter again. But the future son-in-law, named Guushian, sent his wife a big present. It was a notarized statement guaranteeing that all assets before and after the marriage would belong solely to Jing. Furthermore, Guushian transferred all his savings and properties under his name to his fiancée. Guushian said, "Our son-in-law doesn't care about what others think, nor does he care what the children's last name will be. He only wants everyone to know that he loves Jing very much." Meanwhile, Chiong captured Guushian's assistant. The assistant advised Chiong not to dream, because manager Gao held important responsibilities in the Xingyao group, and now that he was engaged to Miss Jing, he would surely inherit the company. Chiong revealed his hobby, knowing he can't do something but still doing it. He punched Yuan by right in the face and made him reveal the reason for Guushian's visit to Haizhou. The assistant had no choice but to tell the truth. CEO Zhuo went to meet the judge of an architectural design competition, named Gu. After investigating, Chiong heard that Gu was the only Asian person who had received the gold medal for architectural design in France. The exhibition center project was related to the Xingyao successor, which was why Guushian was anxious to get her help to win this project. Gu finally appeared. Representatives from the leading architectural companies in China were all waiting for her to choose young design talents. She placed a glass of red wine on the first work, implying that it needed to mature for a few more years. She gifted the second designer a glass of champagne, indicating that he could celebrate a little early. When it came to the third work, she placed a glass of soda on it, causing everyone to laugh at the author. Suddenly hearing Chiong's voice, Gu was shocked and recalled the past. He supported her, accidentally dropping his glasses. Chiong sat Gu down and then helped her put on her shoes. He touched the pattern on her shoes, remembering that it was called Tears of the Era. He guessed that she lived with a lot of nostalgia, but was wearing shoes that didn't fit. He said that he was like her. If he liked something, he definitely wouldn't let it go. What attracted him to Haizhou wasn't the competition, but her. Chi Dong introduced himself as the general manager of the Xing Kong Company in Ninghai City. He invited her to join and help Xing Kong become famous quickly. Chi Gu refused because, having just heard of the Xing Yao group, she chose partners just like she chose shoes, only liking things that were nostalgic. Just then, Guushian came and introduced himself as the deputy general manager of Xing Yao. Chi Gu had heard of Guushian's reputation for taking over the South China market in 3 years. Guushian believed that if she joined Xing Yao, she would definitely lead the company to the top of the architectural industry in the country. Chi Gu asked for more time to think and would answer as soon as possible. Guushian picked up his brother-in-law's glasses, but Chi Dong had many backup plans. Meeting with Guushian, Chi Gu asked him if he was tired of playing the role of a devoted fiancé, because even though they hadn't been playing chess for 15 minutes, he had looked at his phone 5 times. She implied that she could help him rise to the highest position in Xing Yao, relieving him of the label of being an in-law. In exchange, she wanted 15% of Xing Yao's shares. To prove her ability, she would eliminate Chi Dong as an appetizer for him. From afar, Chi Dong secretly observed Chi Gu. They saw her shake hands with Guushian and then get followed by a failed contestant in the competition. Sure enough, the fat guy hated that Chi Gu had kicked him out of the design industry, so he made her taste soda. Chi Dong appeared in time, pulling Chi Gu behind him. Although he was blind, he had keen ears and was very skilled in martial arts. Seeing Chi Dong injured, Chi Gu smashed a streetlight and pulled him to run away. Back home, Chi Gu helped Chi Dong treat his wounds. She gently removed his glasses, cane, and coat for him. She touched his wound, making Chi Dong flinch. Hearing her say that he was like Guushian, Chi Dong immediately denied it, because he would definitely get what he wanted, and if he couldn't, he would destroy it. Chi Gu asked Chi Dong to give her a reason to refuse Guushian's good offer. He promised that when he took control of Xing Yao, he would give her double the offer that Guushian had given her. Chi Gu asked Chi Dong if he would give her 30% of the shares so that she could become the female owner of Xing Yao. He pressed her against the bed, saying that he didn't like proactive women, but he couldn't refuse her attraction. He asked her to go back to Ninghai with him in the morning. Chi Gu held Chi Dong's hand, hoping that they would have a pleasant cooperation. Meanwhile, the fat guy who had just blocked Chi Ji's way received his payment. It turned out that everything was part of Chi Ji's plan. Even though he tried to practice so that he wouldn't be different from ordinary people, she knew that he really couldn't see. Instead of alerting the snake, she would step on the paving stone like him to enter the family. Because Chi Dong was suspicious, Chi Gu used Guushian to lure him. She also arranged a damsel in distress scene, forcing Chi Dong to fall into the net. 5 years later, Chi Gu was finally able to visit her mother's grave. She went to the grave next door to burn the remaining photo of herself as EU. But little did she know, Chi Dong was watching from afar. It turned out that after being pushed into the sea, EU was rescued by her adoptive mother. Her adoptive mother advised her not to be impulsive and to plan each step to approach her enemies. Her adoptive mother gave EU a new identity and then sent her abroad. On the way back, Chi Gu met the person who had appeared on the fishing boat years ago. He looked at her very familiarly, but Chi Dong introduced her as his fiancée. Chi Dong remembered that Shi Jin had embezzled, so he was fired from Ninghai by Guushian. Shi Jin said that the chairman had taken pity on him and called him back to be a butler. Chi Dong asked Shi Jin to protect Chi Gu because she was about to become his master. Shi Jin brought flowers for the chairman on the anniversary of Chi Dong's mother's death. He threw the bouquet on the ground because his mother hated the smell of daisies the most. Shi Jin reminded the young master and his wife to remember the family party that night. When paying respects to his mother, Chi Dong asked why Chi Gu was there. She said she wanted to understand why the son of the Xing Yao group had become a blind man who wasn't valued. She found out that a girl made him blind, but she soon died. Chi Dong wondered if she was afraid of becoming the second EU. Chi Gu asserted that she was smarter, so she knew how to make the right choice. She was satisfied with her fiancé status to help him become the new owner of Xing Yao. Before entering the family's door, Chi Dong reminded Chi Gu to be careful because there would be countless eyes on her. They were like vultures who would tear her into 8 pieces at the slightest opportunity. Chi Gu assured him that she wouldn't turn tonight's party into her last dinner at the family. Hearing footsteps, Jing asked Chi Dong what he was doing there. She was an nun, and she didn't have a brother with a different last name. Chi Dong thought that they were siblings by fate, one blind, one crippled. Seeing Jing throw a book at Chi Dong, Chi Gu quickly pulled him out of the way. Dong introduced Gu as his fiancée. Guushian saw that his older brother had just returned and brought sensational news. Dong said that he was very productive. Unlike someone who abandoned his engagement party to go to Haizhou, but ultimately couldn't invite Gu, Guushian explained that he was in the class above Gu, so he invited her to join Xingyao. Dong reminded his beloved sister to hold onto her fiancé tightly. And Jing sarcastically said that Dong was exactly like his mother, using any means to take someone else's place. Finally, Guushian appeared and reminded Gu to remember their deep hatred. During the meal, Guushian blamed himself for making Jing angry, but for inadvertently encouraging his older brother's love. However, he remembered correctly that they had only known each other for 3 days. Dong thought that he could hate someone for a lifetime, but love someone in the blink of an eye. He suddenly opened a ring box and proposed to Gu in front of the entire family. Gu, from the moment you took my hand and ran away, my life has been stuck with you. So that you don't escape me, I must put the ring on you myself to hold you tight. Gu smiled and put the other ring on Dong's hand. Mr. and praised Ji's ability to make a rotten piece of wood sprout love. Gu recounted that when she was in Haizhou, Dong had saved her from the gangsters. At that moment, she had decided that he must be her husband. Guushian wondered if it was a coincidence or if his older brother had always been following Gu. Dong admitted that he was stalking her because he admired her, unlike his brother-in-law, who asked but did not get. Mr. knew that his 2 sons were at odds because they both cared about the exhibition project. He asked Gu to guess who would win that key project. She understood the chairman's intention that Dong or Guushian deserved to inherit Xingyao. Because the group's recent business hasn't been good, they need someone to lead Xingyao out of danger. In the bathroom, Gu felt nauseous from eating at the same table as her enemies. Jin suddenly appeared and handed her a tissue. Gu guessed that he had already recognized her identity. However, he didn't expose her to see if she had the ability to make the next move. Jin warned Gu not to think that she was smart. She heard that 3 years ago, Jin was in love with a rich girl. He planned to take her away, but Guushian separated the lovebirds and fired him from Ninghai. By the time he came back, she was dead. Gu grabbed the pen on Jin's chest and quickly restrained him. She thought that they had the same goal, so why not work together to take revenge? Just then, hearing a noise outside, Gu quickly went to investigate. She saw the displaced vase and guessed it was Dong. On the way back, Dong asked Gu where she had gone. She revealed that this house had ghosts, but she feared people's hearts more. She pretended to embrace her fiancé because there were eyes watching them. Inside, Guushian tried to comfort Jing. She told him to get lost with Gu and smashed a vase, causing Guushian's face to bleed. He carried Jing to bed, asserting that Gu was just a one-time pawn. He pounced on his fiancée to satisfy his lust, making her unable to be angry anymore. Taking Jing to try on wedding dresses, Guushian unexpectedly met Gu again. He praised his junior's taste as similar to his own, only he didn't expect her to win over Dong in 3 days. Gu reiterated that Dong was just an appetizer she was giving to Guushian. She would join Dong's small company and personally take on the exhibition center project. After pretending to help him win the project, she would immediately pull the rug out from under him. As Gu was about to leave the wedding dress studio, she unexpectedly bumped into Dong. Gu tried not to make a sound, but he happened to block all of her exits. Gu planned to use a needle to test Dong's eyes, just as Guushian called his older brother. Dong said he came to choose a wedding dress, but forgot Ji's measurements. He pulled out his phone to call his wife, causing her to frantically silence her ringer. Dong suddenly remembered that Gu was busy designing the exhibition center proposal. Back at Xingkong, Dong asked his fiancée if she had gotten used to the new environment. Gu believed that everyone was afraid of President Qi's brutal power, so they treated her very well. Gu knocked on the table for Dong to come and see the plan. She wanted the roof of the exhibition center to be covered with a crisscross mesh, using glass throughout to create a transparent space, blurring the boundaries between indoors and outdoors. Hearing Dong's concern about the opinions of the chairman of the bidding committee, Gu overturned the design. She believed that he didn't need to know what the design was like, but he had to prescribe the right medicine. She heard that the chairman of the bidding committee was Chief Fu, a big fan of fencing. He sponsored many amateur fencers, but they only made it to the top 16. If she helped him wash away the shame of losing, she would definitely win the exhibition center project. Arriving at the fencing arena, Chi Dong's defense and attack relied on his hearing. Chi Dong quickly defeated Chi Gu, causing her to suspect that his eyes grew elsewhere. He believed that many things didn't need eyes, but had to be felt with the heart. Back at her own place, Chi Gu asked her best friend to apply medicine. Xiao Pa thought that Chi Dong was like a revenge. Perhaps he had discovered that Chi Gu had met Guushian at the wedding dress shop. Chi Gu suddenly realized that Chi Dong was only faking his blindness. Meanwhile, he stood under the cool water, thinking to himself that perhaps EU had guessed the truth. From the beginning, he had been faking blindness and controlling everything in the palm of his hand. EU, no matter how tyrannical I seem in your eyes now, there will come a day when you understand who I am. In the next fencing practice, Chi Gu still couldn't beat Chi Dong. He deliberately dropped Shi Jin's pen. Just then, Chi Gu received news that he had been in a traffic accident. She was sure that Chi Dong was still as cruel as ever, but she was no longer the EU of 5 years ago. She concentrated intensely, playing a life-or-death game with him. Chi Dong knocked Chi Ji's mask off, but she also responded strongly. Even so, she bled so much that she fainted. When she woke up, Chi Gu found herself lying in Chi Dong's house. He gave her 5 minutes to freshen up to receive a sumptuous meal prepared by him. During breakfast, Chi Dong asked, "Chi Gu, is the food not to your taste?" She thought how could she swallow food cooked by a blind man, but she was very curious about his true purpose. Chi Dong said he wanted to reward Chi Gu for meeting the standards to participate in the women's fencing competition. She thought that he was congratulating her, but there was no need to bring her here. Chi Dong reminded his fiancée that it might not be appropriate for her not to stay at his house. In addition, he wanted to give her special training. Yesterday, Chi Gu was too stressed and anemic, so she fainted on the spot. If she didn't supplement her iron intake, she definitely wouldn't make it through 3 rounds. Moreover, to defeat your opponent, the best way is to eat them. She saw him pull out Shi Jin's pen and immediately questioned Chi Dong about what he had done to him. Just then, hearing the doorbell ring, Chi Dong asked Chi Gu to see if the police had come to arrest him. It turned out to be the styling team that Chi Dong had hired to change Chi Ji's appearance. After some makeup and hairstyling, Chi Gu became more pleasing to Chi Dong's eyes. Even though he couldn't see, he could still feel it with his heart. He saw that she liked this pen very much, so he gave it back to Chi Gu. At the Ninghai Amateur Fencing Competition, Chi Gu won victory after victory, drawing Chi Fu's attention. Chi Gu finally made it into the top 16, but had to face the runner-up from last year's tournament, Huang Meng. Sure enough, the formidable opponent completely overwhelmed her. Chi Dong guessed it was time for Chi Gu to unleash her special move. She remembered his teachings, spinning her sword and suddenly stabbing her opponent. Although Chi Gu didn't make it to the finals, she had won in Chi Fu's eyes. He sent a message, invite her to join the Sword Peak Path Club. Knowing that Chi Fu liked to jog, Guushian came to win him over, coincidentally meeting Chi Gu again. Seeing a car speeding by, Chi Gu quickly pulled Chi Fu, but she herself sprained her wrist. She secretly signaled to Guushian to give herself a chance to approach Chi Fu. Arriving at Chi Fu's familiar traditional Chinese medicine clinic, Chi Gu saw a photo of a girl with a style similar to her own at the fencing match. Dr. Xia said it was Chi Fu's daughter, Wenwen. She liked fencing and had also come here due to a sprained wrist. But 3 years ago, Wenwen had done something foolish due to heartbreak. Dr. Xia gave medicine to Chi Gu and also asked her to pass a gift box to Chi Fu. In the car, Chi Gu admitted that she had only participated in the fencing competition for the exhibition center project. She had only just learned the story of Wenwen and swore not to use this to approach him. Chi Fu didn't blame Chi Gu because he felt her actions were very genuine. The past few days, fencing and jogging with her made him think his daughter had returned. He asked Chi Gu to come see him in 3 days to discuss cooperation. Waiting for his fiancée to come home, Chi Dong smelled traditional Chinese medicine on her. Chi Gu guessed he was born the year of the dog to have noticed that she was injured. Chi Dong took Chi Ji's hand and gently rubbed oil on it for her. Chi Dong advised Chi Gu not to act on her own because she couldn't bear the price if she played tricks behind his back. Meeting Chi Gu at the pier, Chi Fu revealed that his daughter didn't like fencing. Because he liked the sport, he had her practice it from a young age. Seeing Chi Gu start to feel dizzy, Chi Fu decided to tell her the complete story. It turned out that Wenwen was just a child he had adopted from an orphanage. He gave Wenwen everything best with the condition that she couldn't leave him. But when Wenwen grew up, she dared to run away with a man. He was Shurjin, a dog under Guushian's command. He hated that the family knew his daughter had died because of Shurjin, but still let her be a butler. Chief Fu praised Qidong's cleverness in choosing her as a substitute for Wenwen. He was willing to jump into the trap because she could make up for his last regret. Chigu stabbed Chief Fu's hand with a pin and jumped into the sea. Chigu struggled to swim ashore, but the anesthetic made her head spin. In the moment she gradually sank to the bottom of the sea, Qidong suddenly appeared. He swam straight towards Chigu, holding her hand tightly. Qidong's kiss kept Chigu alive. Hearing the music box tinkling, Chigu suddenly woke up. Qidong remembered that he had thrown the music box into the sea with EU. He didn't expect her to be alive 5 years later and the music box to be intact. Chigu likened Qidong to a performer on stage, knowing her identity but still going along with the tide. She guessed he wasn't just aiming for the Xingyao inheritance, that he didn't have the heart to let her die. He was an illegitimate son who had resented Guushian. He saved Guushian, so he traded his eyes, but then was discarded like a pair of worn-out shoes. So, he wanted Guushian to taste the despair of losing everything. Qidong praised Qi Ji's talent for speculation, but she left too many traces that couldn't escape Guushian's eyes. Chigu thought that something broken wouldn't heal, so she had to cruelly eliminate the flaw. Qidong invited Chigu to be his pawn, guaranteeing that she would get what she wanted. The next day, the newspapers reported that Chief Fu had been arrested for accepting bribes. Chigu remembered Chief Fu's assistant, Su Peng, secretly filming him harassing her. If Qidong had bribed Su Peng, he could have used the video to threaten Chief Fu into handing over the exhibition center project. So why do you have to throw Chief Fu in jail? Chigu wanted to find Su Peng so she could use him to control Qidong, inviting his older brother and his wife over for dinner. Guushian congratulated his future sister-in-law for surviving her ordeal. He praised Qidong as powerful, still able to defeat Chief Fu's subordinates while blind, and even diving into the sea to save his wife. Guushian asked his son when his eyes had recovered. Qidong took off his glasses and admitted that he had been able to see before going to Haizhou. And Jing wondered if her older brother was faking his blindness to exploit their father's guilt. She reminded him that their father hated liars the most, so Qidong wasn't qualified to inherit Xingyao. Chigu questioned if everyone had ever been desperate while trapped in endless darkness. Qidong had to live in that feeling for 5 years, and also lost his right to inherit Xingyao. He only wanted his father to consider his sacrifice and come back to contribute his strength to Xingyao. He knew that Chief Fu hated their father to the bone, so he had her approach him to get evidence of his corruption. Because if Chief Fu remained the chairman of the bidding committee, neither Xingyao nor Kong could dream of winning the exhibition center project. Guushian forgave Qidong because he was very pleased with what his son had done. Conversely, he criticized Guushian for not being able to eliminate an obstacle like Chief Fu. He wanted to reward his future daughter-in-law with a design by the leading female architect of yesteryear named Qilon. Qidong quickly grabbed Qi Ji's hand to silently calm her. She remembered that when she was researching the exhibition center project, she had referenced many previous designs from Xingyao, including Qilan's Ninghai Square. Guushian gave the drawing back to Chigu because he saw in her the same drive that Qilon had, and he announced that he would restart the Ninghai Square project. Whoever became the heir to Xingyao would be responsible for building Ninghai. Looking at the drawing, Chigu knew that Guushian was probing her identity. Qidong thought Guushian was setting up a trap because he had heard the news that his eyes had recovered. He wondered if Chigu was a friend or an enemy. She asserted that she was a sharp knife in his hand. Qidong suddenly pinned Chigu against the wall, reminding her not to let her efforts go down the drain. Qidong ordered Chigu to move into his house tomorrow and not leave his sight for a minute. Meeting Guushian for a run, Chigu said that the new chairman of the bidding committee, Huang Zhong, was very upright. If they wanted to win the exhibition center project, they had to perform well in the bidding. She had gradually gained Qidong's trust and would secretly get the bid prize for Guushian. Meanwhile, Qidong had repaired the music box for Chigu. It turned out that they had met when they were young. She lost her music box, so she asked him to help her find it. Qidong retrieved it from a crack in the rocks, but accidentally broke the doll's arm. Chigu made him compensate her by teaching her to play the song. Moving into Qidong's house, Chigu had all her electronic devices confiscated. She went to Qidong's room and saw him boxing in the dark. She questioned why he was keeping her belongings. Qidong said that he needed to be careful because she had too many prior offenses. He didn't need her to do anything but wholeheartedly be his fiancée. While Chi Dong was designing the proposal, Chi Gu continuously ordered designer goods with his money. An assistant named Bu Fan felt sorry for the boss, so she secretly ordered a camera hidden in the food without Bu Fan noticing. She placed cameras everywhere for Xiao Pe to monitor Chi Dong's activities. She reported that Chi Dong had completed the bidding documents, and Bu Fan had fallen asleep outside Chi Ji's door. While Chi Dong was showering, Chi Gu sneaked into the office to view the bidding documents. Before she could copy them, Xiao Pe reported that Chi Dong was done showering, so she quickly jotted down some important data. Outside, he was heading toward the office, so Chi Gu managed to turn off the computer and escape, but she forgot her earbuds on the desk. She pretended to surprise him to secretly retrieve them. Hearing that she wanted to congratulate him on completing the bidding documents, Chi Dong demanded a reward. She untied her hair and pressed him down onto the desk. Chi Dong, are you satisfied with the gift that is me? Chi Dong was flustered and then strongly responded to Chi Gu. He leaned close to her ear, whispering that he was a carnivore and she was too vegetarian to be interesting. She retrieved her earbuds and excused herself to go to her room. Dismissing the possibility that Chi Gu was sneaking out, Chi Dong reminded her that before the bidding day, she was not allowed to leave the house for even half a step. He feared that she would use the excuse of getting fresh air to go out and meet someone else. Chi Gu had to get the information to Guushian before the bidding, so she had to hurt herself. She knocked over a scalding hot pan of braised ribs. Unexpectedly, Chi Dong shielded her from the splashing liquid. At the hospital, the doctor diagnosed Chi Dong with second-degree burns, telling him to carefully clean the wound for a few days. Chi Gu wondered, why did he protect her? Chi Dong asserted that he wouldn't let a good knife become dull. Chi Gu, you are worth me paying a high price. Meeting Chi Gu in the hospital lobby, Guushian praised his underclassman's self-inflicted injury trick, which had even injured Chi Dong. She gave the data to Guushian so he could revise his bidding proposal. Meanwhile, Bu Fan admired Chi Gu, who didn't hesitate to hurt herself to deliver the information to Guushian. Chi Dong thought that she didn't even need her life, let alone a small burn. If a sacrifice was necessary, he hoped that it would be him. Bu Fan probed, "Boss, are you falling for Chi Gu?" Chi Dong awkwardly denied it, saying that he was only taking the big picture into account. Before the bidding meeting, Chi Gu asked about the wound on Chi Dong's hand. He asked her to choose a tie to bring him good luck. He saw that the tie was very similar to her style, like thorns hidden beneath a branch of flowers. Chi Gu told her husband to be careful not to get pricked by the thorns. Chi Gu, except for you, no one can hurt me. Chi Dong told his fiancée to be a good girl at home, waiting for him to return victorious. Chi Gu promised to go to the kitchen and cook a table full of food for him. She took advantage of Bu Fan being engrossed in playing games to set fire to a pan of oil and run away. Meanwhile, the judging panel announced that the winning bidder for the exhibition center project was Chiong. Chi Dong was smug in the face of the anger in Guushian's heart. On this side, Chi Gu had found Su Peng. She wouldn't pursue the past if he handed over the hidden camera video and exposed who was ordering him. Su Peng was about to resist, but suddenly felt dizzy and fainted. When he woke up, Chi Gu threatened to stick a needle into the middle of Su Peng's eye. He had no choice but to confess that the person behind him was Guushian. He knew that Chief Fu hated Guushian and would never hand over the exhibition center project to Xing Yao. So, he promised Chief Fu 10% of Xing Yao's shares with the gift of Chi Gu. But Guushian didn't want to lose his shares, so he hired Su Peng to secretly film Chief Fu forcing himself on Chi Gu to blackmail him. But when Su Peng arrived at the rendezvous point to hand over the USB to Guushian, he was knocked unconscious by someone else. Su Peng secretly cut off the ropes and suddenly attacked Chi Gu. A masked person saved her. It was Shi Jin. Seeing Chi Dong step out from behind, Chi Gu guessed that he had won the project. Chi Dong thanked his fiancée for working hard to transmit information to the enemy, helping him win big in the bidding. But he blamed himself for not calculating every step carefully, pushing her into the hands of this scoundrel. Chi Gu told Chi Dong to stop, as there was no need to dirty his hands with the villain. He was about to examine the wound on Chi Ji's neck, but she avoided him and returned the pen to Shi Jin. She guessed this was the token of love between Shi Jin and Wan. Moreover, Shi Jin colluded with Chi Dong to take revenge on Chi Fu and also secretly placed a tracking device to monitor her. Before retreating into seclusion, Shi Jin reminded Chi Dong to be careful of Guushian. He was someone who could sacrifice anything, even his own children. He revealed that he wasn't in a rush to deal with Su Peng. He wanted to see Chi Dong's reaction when Yu was in danger. He knew that Chi Dong not only valued her ability, but also cared about her very much. He advised Chi Dong not to be like him, only to be filled with regret now. Meeting Chi Gu privately, Chi Dong gave her the USB that Shurjin had stolen from Su Peng. She asked him to hand it over to the police to accuse Chi Fu of attempted rape and Guushian of adding fuel to the fire. Chi Dong threw the USB into the fire because his ultimate enemy was Guushian. If he ruined Chi Gu for Guushian, it wouldn't be worth it. Chi Gu, you're afraid I'm keeping you by my side to constantly torment you. But 5 years ago, you blinded me, and then I threw you into the sea, so we're even. Chi Gu guessed that Chi Dong threw her into the sea to put on a show for Guushian, because he had many ways to harm her, but he chose a place full of fishing boats. If they were even, it was time to join hands and cooperate. Just then, Bufan arrived to report that the results of the bidding had been cancelled. Someone had reported that the Tianyu company had stolen the bid price from the Xingyao group. Chi Gu guessed that Guushian had bribed the person in charge of bidding at Tianyu. She wanted to put on a show with Chi Dong, making Guushian think she was still working for him. Back home, Chi Gu discovered that the housekeeper named Mai was Guushian's mole. Chi Dong unexpectedly arrived, signaling Chi Gu to begin the play with him. He questioned if she had snuck into his office in the middle of the night to steal things for Guushian. He guessed that she had dared to burn him while transmitting the bid price to Guushian. Seeing Chi Ji's wavering eyes, Chi Dong pretended to force her back to her room. He accidentally put her down on the bed a little too hard, so he quickly apologized. Chi Gu saw that Mai was watching, so she resisted as much as she could. Chi Dong understood and immediately used a tie to tie her hands. He decided to starve Chi Gu for 3 days to see if she still had the strength to scream. The next day, Mai came to bring breakfast to Chi Gu. She asked Mai to untie her for a while so she could use the bathroom and eat. Seeing Chi Gu run away smoothly, Mai quickly sent a text message to her boss. Meeting Guushian, Chi Gu gave him a resounding slap. She had tried every means possible to transmit the information, but he dared to lose the bidding. Guushian laughed, saying that he hadn't blamed her for the bid price sheet. However, he didn't suspect his employees. Chi Gu, I like you because we're the same kind of people. You and I were not born with a silver spoon in our mouths, but we want to go against the will of heaven. Guushian revealed that Chi Dong was allergic to ginger. On Chi Dong's birthday, Chi Gu only needed to drop a few drops of refined ginger into his food, and he would become a stepping stone for them to climb to the highest position. Back home, Chi Dong wanted to bring food to Chi Gu. Mai panicked, afraid of being discovered by the boss, but Chi Gu had returned home and was sitting there designing. She wanted to use a new plan to atone for transmitting information to Guushian. She then attacked him from behind, preventing him from playing tricks under her eyes. From then on, Chi Gu was allowed to work publicly with Chi Dong. After completing the design, Chi Gu wanted to cook a bowl of birthday longevity noodles to ease the relationship with Chi Dong. She secretly dropped ginger extract into the food, helping Mai smoothly report to her boss. Entering Chi Dong's room, Chi Gu pretended to be angry that she had made him so busy that he had forgotten his own birthday. Chi Dong paused for a second, and then said that he had never celebrated his birthday, but the food in her hand contained the rolled noodles that his mother liked the most. Chi Gu used a lighter instead of a candle for Chi Dong to make a birthday wish. She whispered in his ear that she had put ginger water in the food. After making his wish, Chi Dong diligently ate the longevity noodles. Seeing him suddenly have difficulty breathing, she called Mai to call an ambulance. Meanwhile, Guushian smugly watched the video. The assistant reported that Mai had just texted, Chi Dong would definitely not be able to attend tomorrow's bidding. Arriving at the bidding meeting, Guushian confidently knew he had victory within his grasp. When it was the turn of the Xingkong company to present its proposal, the representative had not yet arrived. The host was about to announce that the Xingkong company had withdrawn from the competition when the door unexpectedly opened. Chi Dong led his fiancée to present the design proposal for the exhibition center. He believed that since ancient times, Ninghai had been known as the water town of Jiangnan. Therefore, he incorporated the image of the traditional umbrella into the design. He thought the center shouldn't only have the function of an exhibition, but also needed to convey the characteristics of the region. Guushian laughed, saying that Guushian wasn't qualified to compete with his son. Sure enough, the chairman of the bidding committee once again announced the name of the Xingkong company. Entering his older brother's office, Guushian praised the wonderful tactic of deceiving the opponent. He reminded Chi Dong to be careful with the sharp knife that was Chi Ge. Chi Dong believed that Chi Ge was also the one holding the knife, and Guushian was just a fish lying on the chopping board. Guushian had never seen his older brother protect someone, so he guessed that Chi Dong really liked Chi Ge. Chi Dong impulsively punched Guushian in the face, warning him not to touch his woman. Back home, Chi Ge bandaged Chi Dong's wound. She felt relieved to witness Guushian's frustrated expression. She only regretted not being able to throw him in jail. Hearing Chi Dong lament the longevity noodles, Chi Ge had prepared another surprise for him, guaranteed to be more delicious than yesterday. She sat down to drink wine and offered him warm milk, which was good for his health. After drinking all the wine, Chi Ge remembered that she used to have the best alcohol tolerance in the bar. She forbade Chi Dong from looking at her with pity. She saw that he hated Guushian to the bone. Was he not Chi Dong's biological father? Chi Ge, I also wish I wasn't the son of your enemy. Carrying Chi Ge into the room, Chi Dong quietly gazed at her. He couldn't deny the blood flowing through his veins, so he wasn't qualified to love her. Inviting Guushian to go fishing, Guushian heard that years ago, his father and Yu Zhen had partnered to do business. Guushian remembered that Guushian's father liked to fish, so he and Yu Zhen contributed money to buy him an imported rod. Guushian recounted that before going to jail, his father had used that rod to fish here. He blamed himself for carelessly, forcibly demolishing the happy flower garden. Guushian secretly remembered that years ago he had threatened Guushian's father into taking all the blame. He said that he wholeheartedly nurtured Guushian, also hoping that he could carry the Xingyao group. But after studying abroad for so many years, Guushian still lost to a crude old man. Guushian knew that his father had a fatal weakness, which was that he was easily exploited by others. He presented a recording, Guushian plotting to throw Yu Zhen in jail. He originally didn't want to make it public, but Chi Dong had pushed him to the end of his rope. He said his father died unclearly in prison, but his children's lives were still very long. When she woke up, Chi Ge heard the news that Guushian had appointed Guushian as the general manager of the Kong subsidiary to be in charge of the exhibition center project. Chi Dong was demoted to deputy general manager of Kong. On this side, Guushian saw that his son was still very calm. Chi Dong guessed that this was just a delaying tactic because his father had handed over the exhibition center to Guushian but hadn't announced who Xingyao belonged to. Mr. And said that in a week, he would publicly appoint Guushian to inherit the group. Chi Dong assured him that he would solve the worries for his father during this time. Meeting Chi Ge, Guushian boasted that he had not only taken over Xingyao, but also received 30% of the group's shares. She likened him to a cockroach that couldn't be killed no matter how many times you hit it. She wondered what despicable schemes had allowed him to get the upper hand on Guushian. Guushian revealed that he only went fishing with Chairman In. With enough bait, he would catch a big fish. He placed Chi Ge's hand on his heart, forcing her to feel it bleeding from betrayal. Guushian lost control, forcing himself on Chi Ge right in the office. Chi Dong appeared in time, knocking him to the ground and ordering, "Make her face even more seductive." Chi Dong grabbed a nearby photo frame, smashing it straight into the scoundrel's head. It turned out that Guushian had deliberately set a trap to temporarily detain Chi Dong before the shareholders' meeting. Haja discovered that her younger sister, Xind, had fallen into Guushian's trap. She remembered him saying he had gone fishing with Guushian. Xiaopa researched his personal page and discovered that Guushian often fished at Hopart Lake. After asking around, Xiaopa reported that someone had seen Guushian arguing with Guushian and throwing something into the lake. Finally, divers found a recording pen. Because the device had been submerged in water for too long, only Guushian's words could be recovered, blaming all the responsibilities in the Square project on Yu Zhen. Chi Ge wanted to get the upper hand on Guushian, forcing him to trade with the complete recording. Xiaopa reported that she had investigated in Jing's ski accident and found something suspicious. After the person who caused the accident was released from prison, he disappeared without a trace, but he had a relative named Chun Shi working at the wedding dress shop. Arriving to meet Chun Shi, Chi Ge caught her being bullied by Jing. She accused Chun Shi of seducing Guushian, which was why she had received a large sum of money. Chi Ge publicly recorded a video, threatening to send in Jing to prison to visit Chi Dong. Chun Shi owed Chi Ge a favor, so she revealed that she periodically received money from Guushian to transfer to the person who took the blame for causing the accident to Jing, named Lu Fei. However, Chun Shi also didn't know where Lu Fei was. Meeting Guushian, Chi said brother Liu Fei was willing to testify against Guushian for harming Jing. Guushian had no choice but to trade the complete recording of Guushian instigating his father to eliminate Yuzhan. But he knew that Chi hadn't met Liu Fei because he had already given Liu Fei a new identity. Guushian wanted Chi to be by his side in exchange for the recording. If she didn't agree, he would have no choice but to kill Chi Dong's woman. Liu Fei suddenly appeared, agreeing to testify against Guushian. It turned out that Chi Dong had long investigated that Liu Fei was afraid that Guushian would silence him, so he was hiding in a detention center. Haja had no choice but to attack his dreams to find the witness inside the prison. Guushian threatened to make Guushian's scandals public, dragging everyone down with him. Jing had heard everything but still gave her fiancé a chance to take her hostage. Guushian pushed Jing away to capture Chi. He knocked her unconscious and put her in the car. Chi Dong quickly chased after him. Arriving at the pier, Guushian locked the iron gate to wait for someone to take him across the sea. Chi Dong grabbed a stick and relentlessly broke the lock on the door. Just then, Guushian answered a phone call from the person who was supposed to help him escape. Unexpectedly, he threw a Molotov cocktail into the gasoline tank. Chi Dong used all his strength to break the door, running in to save Chi despite the danger. The large fire caused him to collapse, but he still struggled to protect her with his back. In the moment he became hazy, Chi Dong heard his mother's voice. He had once been happy with his mother until she passed away from thyroid cancer. He was alone and had no one to rely on, so he wanted to follow his mother. Chi Ji's voice pulled him back. Chi Dong woke up, seeing Yu lying next to him. Han Lu discovered it and pretended to close her eyes. She saw that Chi Dong was sweating a lot, so she gently wiped him. Sensing that she was about to wipe his chest for him, Chi Dong was so nervous that his heart was about to jump out. Just then, Xiao called Yu out, causing him to start looking forward to her return. Bu Fan walked out of the bathroom, startled when she saw Chi Dong wake up. Yu heard the noise and quickly asked Bu Fan what had happened. Bu Fan blamed Yu for being careless and letting the four drip completely without noticing. He urged her, also a patient, to quickly go back and rest. Bu Fan guessed that the boss was pretending to be in a coma to enjoy Yu's care and attention. The next day, Yu reported that she had been discharged from the hospital, so she came to take care of him as Chi Dong's fiancée. She asked Bu Fan to hand over all the work here to her and quickly go back and rest. Bu Fan had no choice but to obey the orders of the future madam. Yu carried a basin of warm water to wipe Chi Dong. She leaned close, gently wiping every part of his face. When she got to his lower body, Chi Dong's heart was about to jump out. Hearing the monitor beeping rapidly, Yu frantically called for help. The doctor diagnosed that the patient's heart rate was fast, indicating that he was about to wake up. But because he'd been lying in bed for a long time, the family should remember to regularly turn him over to massage him. Yu followed the doctor's instructions, turning Chi Dong's body over to make it easier to clean. Sensing her hand touching his back caused him to be unable to bear it. Yu saw Chi Dong gripping the bed frame tightly, immediately realizing that he was faking the coma. She planned to take off his pants, forcing him to wake up. Yu thanked Chi Dong for saving her life, so she would take care of him before he was discharged from the hospital. Chi Dong, I was so scared that you would just keep sleeping. On the day of discharge, Chi Dong wanted to enjoy a romantic dinner with Yu. Bu Fan set off firecrackers to congratulate the boss for surviving his ordeal, unintentionally disrupting Chi Dong's plan. He gave his assistant 1 minute to disappear from his sight, or he wouldn't receive his end-of-year bonus. Before retreating, Bu Fan reported that tomorrow night, Chairman was hosting a party to celebrate his son winning the exhibition center project. Hearing Bu Fan complain that the boss's hair was a bit long, Yu wanted to trim it for Chi Dong herself. She adjusted each strand of hair, gently blowing away the stray hairs on his shoulder. Chi Dong softly watched the playful girl shave his beard. His Adam's apple moved constantly, and as the distance between them became closer, Chi Dong took Yu's hand, slowly approaching her lips. Yu wasn't mentally prepared, so she quickly avoided his kiss. Seeing the boss's melancholy expression, Bu Fan advised Chi Dong to take a chance. Otherwise, the girl he protected when he was young would eventually become someone else's wife. At the hospital, the police were watching Guushian day and night. Jing knew that he had harmed her, causing her to lose her legs, but he had brought her too much happiness. She tried to believe that he loved her, so she wanted to work hard for their future. On the way to the dinner party, Bu Fan saw that the two bosses were a bit tense. so he turned on music to liven up the atmosphere. Coincidentally, the radio was playing a farewell kiss song, making them even more awkward. Chiong reminded EU not to let the awkwardness between them affect their cooperation. Arriving at the party, Chiong publicly appeared with his fiancée for the first time. He took to the stage, proactively asking to start the Ning High Square project and appointing his fiancée as the chief designer. Chairman and praised his son for having ambition, but major projects were usually very complex. Chiong announced that he would use all of his own money and the Xing Kong subsidiary to contribute capital to the Ning High Square project. He guaranteed that within 2 months, he would put the project on the right track. Guushian instructed his son to prepare a feasible plan to convince the board of directors. EU thanked Chiong for giving her the most meaningful gift. Guushian took advantage of Chiong going to greet guests to invite his future daughter-in-law for a glass of wine. He even called the bartender, who was the owner of the bar where EU used to work, named Babai. But she pretended not to know EU and thanked the chairman for hiring her to make drinks for the party. It turned out that EU's adoptive mother had returned, congratulating Guushian on restarting the Ning High Square project. Meeting her adoptive mother privately, EU apologized for returning to the country without permission. Mrs. Nguyen blamed her daughter for being impatient, almost falling into Guushian's trap. It turned out that she had been secretly investigating Guushian, so she bribed Babai before the party. She told her daughter to be cautious with every step and absolutely not to let Guushian get the upper hand. Before the end of the party, Jing unexpectedly came to give her older brother a gift. She had always thought that Chiong was just an illegitimate child, but she didn't expect his identity to be even more filthy. Guushian signaled to his assistant to carry Jing out, but she had lost all reason. Jing played a video of an interview with Chiong's mother's old neighbors. They said his mother thought she was beautiful, so she seduced a rich man. When a man forced her to have an abortion, she refused, and she even demanded to sue Guushian for insulting her. EU quickly ran to the technical room, cutting off the entire electrical system. Chiong recalled when he was little, his mother beat him countless times for daring to accept things from Guushian. She always reminded him that they were named Chi, not In. Mrs. Nguyen came to encourage Chiong because some things couldn't be denied. He carried Guushian's blood and also had a terrible past. She remembered that 5 years ago, Chiong had secretly sheltered EU without revealing any flaws. But at the party, he had continuously created opportunities for Babai and Jing to appear. She thought that Chiong had lost his ability to judge because of his feelings, so she didn't want her adopted daughter to be involved with him. Back home, Chiong entered a secret room, on which were hung many pictures of EU, the girl he couldn't forget. That summer vacation with her had kept him in this life full of difficulties. But EU's adoptive mother was right. He would only put her in danger. On this side, Guushian punished Jing. He told his daughter to open her eyes and not to think that Guushian loved her. He heartlessly caused her to be in a wheelchair for the rest of her life, only because of his identity as a son-in-law of the In family. Wearing a wedding dress to the hospital rooftop, Jing recalled the pain of losing her legs. In the darkest moment of her life, Guushian had brought her light, making her mistakenly believe that it was salvation in her despair. But in reality, he was the one who pushed her into the darkness. Chiu questioned if Jing was planning to die for someone who didn't love her. She thought Jing couldn't see through Guushian because he was too fake. So, why hurt herself for the mistakes of others? Hearing Jing still wanted to die, Chiu lent her a hand. Chiu even described in detail the feelings Jing would experience when falling to the ground. Chiu saw Jing right up to the brink of life and death before pulling her back. Chiu told Jing that she had to live to witness the wicked being punished. Seeing a storm brewing in the sky, Chiu gave Jing an umbrella, because from now on, she had to learn to protect herself. Just then, Bu Fan called to report that Chiong was in the rain at the cemetery. Standing under EU's umbrella, Chiong said that he had been lost lately. He was grateful to Jing for reminding him of who he was. He thought that she had guessed that the explosion at the pier was the work of Guushian. He wanted Sam Shan and the recording to sink in the fire. EU apologized for being a little chaotic lately, so she hadn't found the evidence yet. EU, we seem to be deviating from our original course. You and I have to put aside our feelings and return to our positions. You must remember that you are EU. You have a father who had to go to prison because of Guushian, and a mother who died because of Guushian. Only when he is punished can you find her own name. Hearing that Guushian had woken up, EU rushed to the hospital. She didn't expect to meet her father, who was frantically demanding to find the roses he had planted for his daughter. Yuzhen paused when he saw Yu, but suddenly took her hostage. Qidong warned Yuzhen that if he harmed her, he would never find the roses again. Guushian's assistant secretly filmed from a distance to probe Qi Ji's identity. Yu coaxed that she would take Yuzhen to find the roses, but he didn't believe her because everyone was deceiving him. Yu had no choice but to take action, but couldn't bear to watch her father get arrested by the police. Qidong quickly hinted to her that someone was following behind. Just then, the nurse came out to report that Guushian had run away. Yu praised Guushian for being skillful, using Yuzhen to probe her identity, and releasing Guushian to easily silence him. She thought it would be difficult to get the recording, so the only way was to win the Ning High Square project. Standing watching Qi Gu from afar, Qidong felt sorry for her having to borrow alcohol to relieve her worries. Bu Fan praised Qi Gu for being capable, meeting her biological father as if nothing had happened. Qidong thought that when people faced extreme pain, they would automatically bandage their painful consciousness. She smiled on the outside, but the wound in her heart had never healed. Qi Gu saw a person holding a bouquet of purple roses and rushed forward to snatch them. He pushed her. Luckily, Qidong supported Qi Gu. He told Bu Fan to compensate the person and then carried Qi Gu home. Yu, with me here, you can boldly move forward. Qidong placed an affectionate kiss on Yu's forehead, not knowing that she was still awake. Entering Qidong's secret room for the first time, Bu Fan unexpectedly discovered that the boss had been in love with Yu since he was young. He wondered why Qidong didn't confess to her. Qidong believed that Yu was cruel on the outside but very soft on the inside. He was Guushian's son. He could only be her most suitable revenge partner. Seeing Qidong busily preparing breakfast, Yu quietly left before he woke up. He told Bu Fan to bring food to Yu, remembering not to say that he cooked it. Bu Fan had just passed Yu's room when he saw that she was gone. Returning to the unfinished Ning High Square, Yu remembered the peaceful moments with her family. Her mother designed the square like a music box to become the childhood memories of all the children of Ning High. Meeting Qidong, Yu thanked him for letting her design Ning High Square. Qidong reported that he had taken over all the documents from years ago and would bring them to her soon. Yu remembered that in the recording, there was the voice of a third person. She guessed that he was a spy that Guushian had planted next to her father. Arriving at the temporary office, Qidong secretly watched Yu work. Seeing her back aching, he secretly told Bu Fan to order a mattress. Although Qidong didn't say it, Yu knew his concern. Working late together, Yu saw that Qidong had caught a cold, so she made medicine while he went out to get paper. Qidong knew that she was like him, both secretly caring for each other. They missed each other, but had to bury it deep in their hearts. Knowing that Yu forgot to eat while working, Qidong brought her food. Just then, Yu discovered that the signature on the design modification approval wasn't her father's. Though the brushstrokes were very similar, her father never hooked the ends of his letters. Moreover, he had never modified his wife's designs. They looked for the original drawings from years ago, unaware that Guushian was pouring gasoline through the window. When Yu smelled gasoline, the fire had already grown large. She quickly called the fire department, and Qidong desperately broke down the door. The fire suddenly flared up from the outside, causing him to faint on the ground. Yu hopelessly fought the fire, then embraced Qidong. She begged him to wake up and work with her to make Guushian pay. Yu, don't be afraid. Qidong, I'm afraid there are many words I didn't say, and there won't be another chance. Qidong, I really like you. Qidong sat up, tightly gripping Yu's hand. He confessed, I love you very much. Finally, Qidong dared to express the feelings he had held for so many years. The love in him burned fiercely, no less than the flames outside. Yu told him that in their next life, they must live together happily. The fire flared up again, causing Yu to faint in Qidong's arms. Yu, we finally got to where we are today with so much difficulty. I still have so many things I want to say, so many things I haven't done with you. I absolutely won't give up. I'll definitely get you out. Qidong grabbed an axe and broke down the door, finally opening the outside latch. In the thick smoke and flames, he struggled to carry his lover out. He collapsed, and only when he heard the sound of the fire department was he relieved and fainted next to Yu. A week later, Qidong stayed by Yu's bedside. Waiting for her to wake up, he urged his girlfriend to quickly eat pear soup to cleanse her lungs. Yu tasted a spoonful of sweet soup, feeling her boyfriend's meticulous care. Qidong confessed that while trapped in the fire, he had deeply regretted not holding Yu tightly, because he didn't know if tomorrow or an unexpected event would happen first. So he wasn't willing to let his feelings be buried. Yu, I want to be with you. Seeing Chi Dong approaching, Yu suddenly regretted the clues that had been destroyed in the fire. Chi Dong thought this moment wasn't suitable to talk about that. He leaned in close to her lips when suddenly Yu guessed that Guushian was the culprit. Chi Dong thought that he would let Guushian handle him. Yu thought again. The arsonist was the third person in the recording. She took advantage of Chi Dong not paying attention, suddenly kissing his lips. Chi Dong pressed his advantage, just as the nurse reminded them that visiting hours were over. He asked his girlfriend to be discharged from the hospital, and he would take her to a faraway place. Waiting for his son to come home, Guushian said that someone had photographed the arsonist. Chi Dong wasn't surprised that the culprit was Guushian, but he feared that he would do even more terrible things. Mr. M believed that a secretly recorded tape wasn't considered evidence, but if it was leaked, it would definitely affect the fundraising for Ninghai Square. He told his son to focus on the project, and he would completely resolve him. Guushian suddenly had a headache and fainted. The doctor diagnosed him with a ruptured intracranial aneurysm, leading to a coma. Before his health stabilized, the patient couldn't work too much. On their first date, Chi Dong held a bouquet of flowers, waiting for his girlfriend downstairs. He shyly said that it was the first time he had given flowers to a girl. Arriving at the seaside village of the Chi family, Chi Dong heard that Yu used to come here every summer vacation when she was little. He took her hand and revisited her childhood memories together. They strolled along the beach, enjoying the taste of love mixed with the sound of the rippling sea. Yu realized that this place was still the same as it used to be, and there was also a new piano. She sat down and played the song that reminded him of his childhood. Chi Dong affectionately looked at the little girl from years ago who had grown up. Yu recounted that years ago, she had met a lonely boy walking towards the sea. She had to hide the music box in a cave and then asked him to teach her to play the piano. She only hoped that his summer would become more beautiful. Chi Dong thought that new memories would gradually cover up painful memories. In the future, every time the boy heard that song again, he would remember spending a whole summer with Yu. Chi Dong played the song again, bringing Yu back to those moments that he would never forget in his life. Returning to the beach, Chi Dong set up a tent to watch the meteor shower with his girlfriend. Yu didn't expect such a sharp Chi Dong to be so romantic. Chi Dong said that he was originally dry, but he was willing to be romantic for her, but suddenly it started raining, ruining his plan to watch the meteor shower. Yu remembered waiting to see the meteor shower with a little boy. Hearing the thunder, the little boy advised Yu to go home, but she stubbornly waited for the meteor shower to appear. As a result, they both didn't see anything and had a fever all day. However, this time it stopped raining early, so Yu was able to watch the meteor shower with the person she loved. She wondered if he also believed in making a wish before a meteor. Chi Dong said, "Yu, I never used to believe, but meeting you made me believe." Yu took a picture to record the first night they spent together. Returning to the company, Chi Dong heard Bu Fan report that the construction team was using concrete with low durability, only 60% of the original design durability. Just then, Guushian sent the complete recording to Chi Dong and Yu. It turned out that the voice of the third person was Chi Dong. He had come to demand money for his mother's cancer surgery and living and tuition expenses for the next 10 years. Guushian agreed to give his son 1 million yuan on the condition that he keep what he had just her secret. Chi Dong guessed that Guushian had already found out that Chi Gu was Yu. Although he was still young that year and only wanted to save his mother, he had really covered up the fact that Guushian had framed Yuzhen. He blamed himself and didn't expect Yu to forgive him. On this side, Mrs. Nguyen heard the recording. She advised her adopted daughter to be calm, but Yu believed that Chi Dong had his own difficulties. Mrs. Nguyen said that she was holding evidence to accuse the construction team of Ninghai Square of secretly changing low-quality materials, which could cause serious safety problems. She gave the choice to Yu. As long as she accused, she could overthrow the Xingyao group. But at the same time, Chi Dong, who was in charge of the project, would also be inevitably implicated. Arriving at the hospital to inquire about Guushian's condition, Yu ran into Chi Dong visiting his father. He admitted that he had wronged Chi Dong's mother and didn't know how to be a proper father. Chi Dong thought that there was no need for them to act out a loving father and son scene. Guushian remembered when he first met Chi Dong. He was dark and thin, and he even doubted that he was his own flesh and blood. It wasn't until he came to demand a large sum of money that he was sure that he was his son. Chiong was decisive, even disregarding family ties. Guushian asked, "Who exactly is Chi-gu?" 2 words, "EU," were spoken from Chiong's mouth, leaving her stunned. Guushian laughed, saying that his son was so much like him that he dared to betray even the person he loved. 3 days later, Guushian organized a fundraising for the Ning High Square project. The police arrived to announce that they had received a letter accusing the concrete used to build the square of not meeting the requirements. A crowd of reporters rushed to question if other Xingyao projects also carried safety risks. Guushian invited the reporters to ask the police because he himself had invited them here. The police said that after investigation, they confirmed that Xingyao's concrete fully met the requirements. Guushian used the small incident to announce that Xingyao wasn't afraid of anonymous letters. He also thanked the sender of the letter for allowing the police to verify the quality of the project once again. He also announced that he had transferred all of his shares to Chiong, appointing his son as the chairman of Xingyao. Meeting EU privately, Guushian was very happy to meet the daughter of his old friend again. He commented that she was smarter than her father, but still acted impulsively. He said that Chiong knew that the concrete issue was just a trap that he had set for EU. She guessed that he also wanted to test Chiong. If he stopped the letter of accusation, it meant betraying his father. Guushian was smug because his son didn't disappoint him. He affirmed that the value of EU in Chiong's heart couldn't compare to a bright future. Sometime later, Xingyao's stock suddenly plummeted. Chiong held a press conference, admitting that Xingyao's capital chain had been broken because there were many fraudulent problems in the group's financial data. In addition, former chairman Guushian was suspected of being involved in illegal asset transfers. He was raising capital for the second time for the Ning High Square project to transfer it to foreign accounts, short-selling the Xingyao group. Seeing her father hastily fleeing, and Jing asked if he would be back. She questioned from beginning to end, are the children just pawns for dad? Whether the winner is Chiong or Guushian, they will all receive the same fate as a discarded pawn. Guushian promised that after things were settled abroad, he would send someone back to pick up Jing. He instructed her that if something unexpected happened to him, and Jing had to leave immediately. Rushing to the pier, Guushian didn't expect to meet EU again. She was also holding the key to the fishing boat that he needed. Guushian asked EU to name a price so he could buy back the key. She threw it straight into the sea because she didn't need anything but his life. Cornered, Guushian desperately attacked EU. Chiong appeared in time, stopping his father from harming the person he loved. Chiong had long known that Guushian was faking his illness, so he joined hands with EU to put on a show. Before EU came to the hospital to inquire about Guushian, Chiong had admitted that he was the third person in the recording. He admitted that he was greedy and wanted to fully enjoy his first date with EU, so he was only now telling the truth. EU knew that Chiong was still young at that time, so she didn't blame him. Chiong had investigated the financial reports and found that the Xingyao group was in a huge deficit. He guessed that Guushian had long been secretly moving assets and using the heir as a puppet to bear the blame. He was faking illness to push Chiong to quickly take over Xingyao. He had to use the trick back on him, organizing fundraising to collect evidence of Guushian transferring assets abroad. He praised his son for being like him, willing to throw away family ties. Chiong remembered that Guushian had bullied his mother, so he had never considered him as his father. Guushian blamed Chiong for biting the hand that feeds him, not allowing his son to betray him. He had a heart attack, but dropped the bottle of medicine on the ground. EU gave a medicine to her enemy, so Guushian would live a life worse than death. Finally, EU had avenged her parents. Under the setting sun, Chiong took EU's hand, remembering his lover's smile clearly. The police arrived to arrest Chiong, suspecting that he had assisted Guushian in moving assets. It turned out that in order to overthrow Guushian, Chiong had to cooperate with him to carry out the final capital transfer. Furthermore, he wanted to pay the price for his actions years ago. EU, I hope you can start your life over. EU stood watching Chiong's back fade away. He turned around and gave her a bright smile before leaving her. After Yu Zhen was exonerated, he was transferred back to the Ning High Mental Hospital. EU brought purple roses to visit, but her father didn't recognize his daughter. She blamed herself for coming too late, forcing her father to be pushed to this point. Yu Zhen remembered that years ago, Ming Ji sent many purple rose seeds to the flower shop near his house. He asked Yu to go there and bring them back for him. Arriving at the flower shop, Yu did find her father's deposit box. But in addition to the seed box, she saw many love letters from a woman written to her father. She had even tattooed roses on her ankles to prove her secret love. She also asked him to meet at the swing park and then blamed Guushian for harming his wife. Yu remembered that when she was little, she had seen her father talking to a woman with roses tattooed on her ankles. Coming back to Chiong's house to find some warmth, Yu felt like she couldn't trust anyone anymore. She discovered a unique painting, unexpectedly containing a secret room. Yu stepped inside, silently looking at all the most important moments in her life. It turned out that the person who often bought her alcohol years ago was also Chiong. He had always been secretly watching over her, never absent from her life. Finally, Yu realized that Chiong was the little boy who taught her to play the song that reminded her of her childhood. He had never forgotten her, and he carefully protected everything that belonged to Yu. Calling Bufan, Yu asked why Chiong was so foolish. Bufan remembered the boss saying that he was willing to use 15 years to protect her, in exchange for a short date with Yu. He recounted that years ago, Chiong's mother was raped by Guushian, so she gave birth to him. After his mother was diagnosed with breast cancer, Chiong had no choice but to go ask Guushian for money. But when he came back, his mother scolded and forbade him from being involved with him. Unexpectedly, Guushian wanted to seize his son, so he bribed the doctor to prolong the best treatment time for Chiong's mother. As a result, she passed away because she didn't get treatment in time. Arriving at the detention center, Yu finally saw the person who sacrificed everything for her. However, Chiong didn't want to see her in this state. Yu quickly played the song of their childhood to hold him back. Chiong, I've broken the music box twice, but you always fixed it. Thank you for always trying to piece together my broken pieces. Chiong, from now on, let me protect you. Back home, Yu began searching for Guushian's money to mitigate Chiong's sentence. Xiaopa found a shell company in Guushian's name. Guushian used the name of his son-in-law to transfer money through an account in Switzerland. If they caught Guushian, they would definitely get the money back. On this side, Guushian received an anonymous email revealing that Guushian had used his information to open an account in Switzerland. Just then, Yu broke in, and Guushian immediately fled. Yu grabbed a stick and hit Guushian, but she didn't have enough strength to catch him. Guushian drove his motorcycle back to the Yin family to rely on Jing. He said that the days without her were like a wandering ghost. Jing was moved and applied medicine to Guushian. He admitted that he didn't want to be like his father, trampled to death by Guushian. So, he used any means to climb up. But before his father passed away, he had sincerely pursued Jing. At that time, she was still intact, noble as clouds. After getting Jing, he blamed himself for causing her to be disabled, so he swore that he would never leave her. Jing was touched, agreeing to run away with Guushian. He asked her for her father's bank password in Switzerland to get money to rebuild their new life. Jing remembered that her father often reversed her birthday, making it the password for his accounts. Unexpectedly, someone was eavesdropping on Guushian's phone call. She was the woman with roses tattooed on her ankles. After Guushian fell asleep, Jing secretly reported to Yu. But when Yu arrived, he had already fled. Just then, Jing received news that Guushian had been in a traffic accident. Arriving at the hospital, Jing saw Guushian dying on the hospital bed. He told her not to shed tears for a terrible person like him. Jing, I'm sorry for ruining your life. Going out to meet Yu, Jing gave the account password, which was the date Guushian became the chairman of Xingyao. She didn't want to become a person like her father, hoping Yu would save Chiong. Arriving at the Swiss bank, Yu ran into the woman with roses tattooed below her ankles. She also overheard the bank director saying that a woman had come to withdraw money, but the password wasn't correct. After finding Guushian's money, Chiong received a reduced sentence and was reinstated as the chairman of Xingyao. The woman with roses tattooed below her ankles was still secretly following the case. Unexpectedly, she was Yu's adoptive mother. Finally, Chiong was released from prison. He came home and heard the music coming from the secret room. Yu stood waiting for him, a bright smile on her face. She had added many moments to Chiong's life. In addition to her own pictures, the room had become a place to store everything that belonged to them. Yu, thank you. Yu thought it was magical that the skinny boy from years ago had grown so tall and handsome. She thought she was the luckiest person in the world to be protected by such a wonderful man for 15 years. Chiong, from now on, let me protect you. In the melodious music, Dong shyly kissed the person he loved. Yu paused for a beat and then strongly responded to him. The passionate kiss carried the longing of people who had been apart for a long time, as if to make up for the time spent apart. She gently took off his shirt. In this romantic moment, their bodies merged into one, two hearts beating as one. After a passionate night, Yu obediently cooked breakfast for Dong. He affectionately kissed Yu, hugging her tightly. He saw the picture of the woman with roses tattooed below her ankles. Yu recounted that she was her father's mistress, and also the one behind Guushian. She guessed that she hated the new love and colluded with Guushian to harm her father. Yu felt that she was ridiculous because her father was the cause of her mother's death. Dong hugged Yu, promising to always be by her side. Yu wanted to fulfill her mother's wish to build the square, and also make the person who destroyed her family pay the price. From then on, Dong and Yu restarted the Ninghai Square project. The Ministry of Construction finally issued a permit to Xingyao. Yu had almost completed her mother's wish, turning the square into the pride of Ninghai. Just then, Xiaopa called to report that he had found the tattoo artist who tattooed the roses for the woman in the picture. Because it was his most satisfying work, he remembered clearly that her name was Rose. Yu suddenly had an idea and asked her adoptive mother about the past. Mrs. Nguyen knew that it was very difficult for Xingyao to call for investment because it was on the verge of bankruptcy. She had designed a plan to attract investors, hoping to help her two children. Yu thanked her adoptive mother, but Dong had filled the gap in the project. After he convinced the Ministry of Construction, many investors chose to trust Xingyao again. Dong thought that Ninghai Square was originally a key project of the city, so he just went along with the flow. Yu felt very happy to have two important people always by her side. Going to the bathroom, Dong saw old pictures of Mrs. Nguyen. He discovered that she was wearing a rose brooch that he had seen on Guushian years ago. Dong went outside, deliberately dropping his chopsticks on the ground. He bent down and looked at Mrs. Nguyen's ankles, but there were no tattoos. Mrs. Nguyen remembered that years ago, she had studied in the same high school and then majored in the same field in college as Yu's mother. Later, they both met Yuzhan. Until they graduated, Yu's parents got married, but they were still very close to Mrs. Nguyen. Back home, Dong said straight that he suspected that Mrs. Nguyen was Rose. He recounted that years ago, he had seen a rose brooch on Guushian that was exactly like the one in Mrs. Nguyen's picture. Moreover, Yu's father was cautious. Only a close person could betray him and fall into Guushian's trap. He knew that Yu was in a difficult position, so he would carefully investigate the truth. On this side, Mrs. Nguyen removed the tattoo sticker. She remembered that years ago, she was pregnant with Yuzhan's child, but he shirked his responsibility, wanting to return to his wife and children. Just then, Yu called her father, so Yuzhan hastily pushed his mistress, causing her to fall. Mrs. Nguyen miscarried, holding the hatred in her heart. Looking at the heavy rain outside, Yu was afraid that a storm would come to her life. She didn't dare to believe that her adoptive mother was her enemy. Arriving to meet Dong, Yu said that her adoptive mother was Rose. She recounted that in the morning, she went to visit her mother and saw people were repairing the grave that had collapsed due to the heavy rain. She discovered that in the grave that her adoptive mother had built for her years ago, there was an ultrasound image of a fetus and a brooch. The medical record also clearly stated that Mrs. Nguyen had had a miscarriage. Yu guessed that was why Mrs. Nguyen hated her family. Dong hugged Yu, knowing that she was gnawing on this pain. Arranging to meet her adoptive mother, Yu asked if she knew a woman named Rose. That was her father's affair partner. Mrs. Nguyen thought there was a misunderstanding because Yu's parents loved each other very much. She advised her daughter to let the past rest. Yu objected because Rose still hadn't stopped, even manipulating Guushian to getting Guushian's money. She had met Rose, once at a Swiss bank and once right here. But at that time, she was too young. It wasn't until she read the letters between her father and his lover that she knew she was pregnant. Yu felt lucky that the child wasn't born because its mother had destroyed another family. She asked her adoptive mother to quickly help her find that evil woman. She would definitely start the Ninghai Square project to prove that Rose would never achieve what she wanted. During the groundbreaking ceremony, Yu announced that she would build Ninghai Square based on the design of the original architect, her mother. Sure enough, Mrs. Nguyen Ji made a move, collapsing the main building with an explosion. Many injured workers came to demand compensation from Xingyao. Reporters said that there was a problem with Yu's mother's drawings, which caused the project to collapse twice. EU affirmed that the drawings were evaluated by the Ministry of Construction as suitable for construction. However, the workers were still agitated, demanding compensation. Chiong ran out and asked for a 3-day deadline to return the truth to everyone. Mrs. Nguyen suddenly spoke up, deciding to contribute capital for Xing Yao to compensate for the square collapse. She would put forward a new design plan, ensuring that Ning High Square wouldn't repeat the mistakes of the past. Back home, Chiong knew that EU was very sad. He thought that Mrs. Nguyen had fallen into EU's goading trap and would definitely reveal a lot of flaws. Waiting for her to fall into the net, the capital would still remain in the project, helping to complete Ning High Square. Just then, Bu Fan came to report that he had investigated the person helping Mrs. Nguyen. It turned out to be Guushian's close assistant, Zhao Ku. The next day, EU heard Bu Fan report that Zhao Ku was preparing to escape to Haizhou. She urged Chiong to quickly go and arrest him, while she stayed behind to avoid alarming her. Chiong was worried that Mrs. Nguyen would be cornered and harm EU. She believed that Chiong would overcome the danger in Haizhou, and also hoped that he would trust her. Chasing to the pier, Chiong appeared right in front of Zhao Ku, but everything was under Nguyen's control. She smugly blew up the ship carrying Chiong and Zhao Ku. Calling her daughter over to eat local specialties, Mrs. Nguyen instructed EU to eat raw oysters. She waited for her daughter to taste a bite before revealing that she had added a special seasoning. It turned out that she had been to the cemetery, discovering that EU had seen the ultrasound paper in the coffin. She admitted that she had long known that EU had discovered her identity, so she pushed Zhao Ku to be bait. EU wanted to avenge Chiong, but she fainted from the anesthetic. Taking EU to an abandoned building, Mrs. Nguyen advised her daughter not to move violently because it would only cause the small bomb inside her intestines to explode. She hated that EU had taken everything from her child. She was smug because she would become the person in power to build Ning High Square. In her most helpless moment, EU only remembered the most important man in her life, struggling to write his name before gradually becoming hazy. Finally, Chiong burst open the door, but EU had lost consciousness. After 3 days, EU woke up, seeing Chiong, and thought she was dreaming. He hugged her tightly, reiterating his promise to protect EU for the rest of his life. Before Mrs. Nguyen pressed the detonator button, he had managed to jump into the sea. EU thought she had lost Chiong, so she would cherish every moment with him. Waiting for EU to be discharged from the hospital, Chiong made his girlfriend do morning exercises. He thoughtfully brought water and a blanket because he was afraid she would be cold. Visiting his mother's grave, Chiong remembered that she had instructed him not to let hatred cloud his judgment. But he didn't listen, causing himself and the person he loved to be in danger many times. However, now he only wanted to live well with EU. She said that she didn't want to be like her adoptive mother, having her whole life destroyed by hatred. She only wanted to live a peaceful life with Chiong. Arriving at the mental hospital to visit her father, EU heard the nurse report that Yu Zhen couldn't be found. She ran back to her old house to find her father, just as Nguyen had arranged to meet at the Ning High construction site. She revealed that the more she loved Yu Zhen, the more jealous she became of Chiong. She was beautiful, had a good family background, and Yu Zhen had taken the initiative to confess his love to her. After they got married, Chiong focused on her work, becoming distant from her husband. Nguyen took the opportunity to jump into their marriage and became pregnant with Yu Zhen's child. But he affirmed that he only had one child, EU. At the height of her hatred, she agreed to forge documents to blame Yu Zhen. In exchange, she wanted 30% of Xing Yao's shares. However, Guushian went back on his word, only paying her 5 million yuan. She successfully killed Qilin, making Guushian live a life worse than death, leaving only EU and her father. She saw her father hanging in the air and rushed to stop Nguyen. She attacked EU, unexpectedly slipping and falling down. EU quickly grabbed her adoptive mother's hand, but she revealed that she once could have saved Qilin, but she chose to watch her best friend fall. EU admitted that she hated Nguyen very much, but she had promised Chiong that she would live well, so she wouldn't let her life be destroyed. Chiong appeared in time, and together with EU, pulled Nguyen up, before paying the price. Nguyen turned back to look at EU, who had once been held snugly in her arms. 3 days later, Yu Zhen returned to the mental hospital. EU was relieved to let her father live in his own world. Returning to the seaside, Chiong and EU recorded happy moments. He He reported that the Ning High Square project had been put on the right track, so her mission was to obediently be by his side. The sound of the music box suddenly rang out, opening the way for Chi Dong's proposal. "EU, from the first moment I saw you, I knew my life was stuck with you. EU, will you marry me?" "Chi Dong, I do." Chi Dong put the ring on the ring finger of the most important person in his life. This is where the story ends. Don't forget to like and subscribe to not miss out on more amazing videos. For now, goodbye, and until next time.